Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're here with part 16 of our F1 2021 MyTeam Career mode here, this time out for the US Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. Last time out we had the Japanese Grand Prix and let's be honest, it wasn't the best weekend. We weren't able to score any points, either myself or Schwartzman. We had some good pace throughout and just at different stages we seemed to be quicker, and then other stages we just completely dropped off the cliff. I just think with our car, it just didn't really suit the track. But hopefully next time out we can do a bit better, because I do enjoy Suzuka, so it was a bit of a shame. However, this time we're at Coda here at the Circuit of the Americas, and hopefully we can have a bit of a better weekend as we head into quali here. I do also kind of like this track. It's certainly not my favourite, but I don't really mind it that badly, as we head through turn 1 and turn 2 there with no real dramas heading down the back straight now. However, we can see we lock up and actually have a really big slide through that left-hander, so that's going to have cost us quite a few tenths as we now head through the last corner. Not an ideal line through that last corner either, but we're going to cross the line, and that's only enough for P21 there, almost a whole second off of Russell in 18th, so definitely have to improve that lap. You can see Schwartzman ends up in 15th there, almost an entire second up on us. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to go out for a second lap here, and we're going to have to fight if we want to get into Q2, because this is our one and only lap that we have left to try and improve, because we head through turn 1 nailing that apex. No loss of traction out of turn 1 there. You can see already 3 tenths up as we head through turn 2 and into the S's section, going left, right, left and right again, trying to hook it up nicely. Not the best line through there, unfortunately washing a bit wide through that second left-hander, and we find ourselves still about 3 tenths up, so we didn't really gain or lose too much time as we now head through this little uphill section and back down the hill. We're now half a second up, so found a bit more time. I felt a lot more confident on this lap. I just seem to have more traction than I did. You can see once again nailing that late apex there to get the good run onto the back straight. We did get a little bit of a tank slapper there, but not too bad, and you can see, having a look at that delta, it is still gaining time, so we're definitely improving still as we head down the back straight towards left-hander, trying to get this better, and we do nail that apex as well, and that gets us up to 7 tenths up as we now head into the last sector through the right-hander, hooking it on that curb and getting it through the next very fast right kink and into this very long tightening left-hander there. Very, very unique corner, that one. I do quite enjoy it, as we're now 1.1 seconds up through the right-hand sweeper here, getting those first 2 apexes before running it out nice and wide to carry as much speed as possible through the penultimate corner now, making sure to keep it on track, running it slightly wide, but luckily not getting invalidated lap as we head through the last corner. Not the best line. It's 1.4 seconds up as we cross the line, and it is P15, so we do get ourselves into Q2. Did our teammate Schwartzman get in as well? You can see Bottas goes fastest over Hamilton there. But scrolling down, Schwartzman just about gets in, and I believe that is our first time that both of us have made it through into Q2, so we're definitely making progress here as a team to have finally been able to do that. You can see out qualifying both Williams, both Haas, and both Alfa Romeos, but of course now we've got our first lap of Q2 here, and I'm going to leave you with it alone, so sit back and enjoy some audio. So that definitely wasn't the most well put together lap that I've ever done, and you can see that it's a 32.7. We are behind Schwartzman there, the slowest car to have done a lap so far. and we're about 6/10 off of Sonoda, so once again, we're going to have to go for another flying lap to see what we can do and hopefully not qualify last in this session. As we go through turn 1 and 2, you can see once again, we're about half a tenth up now as we head into the S's section, trying to take it as straight as possible so we can carry as much speed there. And as we head down the back straight now, you can see we're about 4/10 up, getting through here, hitting that apex, unfortunately going a little bit too deep, so we lose about 1/10 of a second through there. But as we head into the last sector now, we're about half a second up. You can see only about 2/10 off of Ocon, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a Q3 this time, but it's about seeing how far we can go with this. We were 6/10 up at a second, but unfortunately just taking that corner a little too tight, and we lost about 1/10 there, so we're still half a second up as we now head through the sweeper and into the penultimate corner. I ran a little bit too wide here last time, and I've run a little wide again, just scrubbing slightly too much speed there, but we are about 7/10 up, 8/10 up as we go across the line, and it is enough for P13 there. You can see 1.8 seconds off of Valtteri Bottas and about half a second off of Sebastian Vettel there and getting into Q3. So I'd say we're definitely making improvements there to be 13th and 16th as opposed to earlier on in the season where we didn't have anyone getting into Q2 at all. But you can see there in terms of the rivalry with Stroll, it is still very close. We are only trailing by 1 point there, which is a bit unfortunate, but hopefully we can claw that back in the race, as I feel like we'll have a bit of better race pace than we do qualifying pace. That's usually the trend that we follow. We normally qualify a little bit lower than what we're able to finish in the race. So hopefully we can replicate that, and let's move on to the race.
Here we are then in one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, the fabulous Austin, in the great state of Texas. The circuit itself 14 miles southeast of the city centre and home to the US Grand Prix since 2012. The latest in a long list of iconic tracks to have that honour. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles an hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and at the end of the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's have a chat about McLaren. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Perez, Max Verstappen and Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, Benjamin and Carlos Sainz, Stroll, Schwartzman, Esteban Ocon, they've taken a grid penalty, and Russell, Gasly, Mazepin, Yuki Tsunoda and Kimi Raikkonen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mick Schumacher, Latifi, they've taken a grid penalty. Norris and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So here we are on the grid, getting ready to go for the race. You can see we did move up a few spots here, up in P9 after a couple guys took some penalties. But you can see there, it's going to be a pretty simple one-stop for us here, going from the softs to the hards. You can see just playing around with the strategy a little bit, because I thought maybe the two-strop might be the way to go. And then, yeah, just having a look to see if maybe a one-stop on the mediums would fit, but the game wouldn't even let me do it, so I guess it's sort of a bit of a no to that. But we're going to get ready to go. As the lights come up on the screen, we're all getting ready for the start of the race. It is very overcast, although it's not meant to rain, but you can see it's lights out, and we are underway here for the US Grand Prix. It's a very, very good initial start there, pulling ahead of Ricciardo, so not a great start for our fellow Aussie, but we're going to sort of forced around the outside here to turn 1, as we just had a bunch of cars on our inside. And we actually come out in P8, so after all that, we've only managed to gain 1 position as we now sit in behind Sebastian Vettel through the S section here. And yeah, we're just going to have to try and move away up the field now. It was a very, very weird start, because it looked like we made up a lot more places than we did. But after all of that, we only went from P9 to P8, so yeah, I guess a bit deceiving there. going around the outside of some cars as we head into the hairpin now. We do have to be careful. We've got Fernando Alonso right behind us. He looks very, very thirsty and trying to make a move on us to get himself back up into P8. Yeah, heading down the back straight. We are closing right in on Sebastian Vettel. We are going to have a look to the inside. He goes a little bit defensive last second, so we're going to go to the outside. Have to make sure we don't go too far up to hit Perez. We run a little bit wide into the left-hander. And actually, Vettel has somehow gotten up alongside Perez. And we actually had a bit of contact with Alonso. And you can see there, the left-hand side, he's completely off screen because he did actually spin in that left-hander at the end of the back straight there. He did just make a bit of contact with us and spin. Unfortunately, I didn't get a camera angle of it. So, yeah, you could have seen it in our left mirror. But Vettel did make a move on Perez there while we were watching that off-board camera. And now we are having a look to see if we can make our way past the Mexican. Perez not having the best season here with the Red Bulls, and he's going to have to pick up the pace if he wants to stay with the team for next season. We know how ruthless Red Bull can be with drivers that don't perform. As you can see, we're trying to have a look at making a move on Sergio Perez, but just not quite able to do it here on lap 2, and we're just going to have to sit him behind and try and stay as close as possible for the next straight. As we head through the S section, you can see he's able to pull away as we're just sort of stuck in the dirty air. And we actually have our rival, Lance Stroll, right in behind us. So, yeah, we're going to want to try and keep him behind because obviously we don't want to lose that acclaim. But having a little check here on Robert Schwartzman, you can see he's got himself into P12 at the moment, and he's right behind George Russell. So he could very potentially be looking at getting himself into 11th. And maybe into the points should he have the pace to chase down Sainz in the Ferrari. Sainz isn't too far ahead of Russell, or even just one car having some sort of issue, whether that's a spin or a mechanical failure, that could get him into the points as well. You can see as we close right in on Sergio Perez. Are we going to go for a dive? Not quite. We're not quite close enough. You can see ranging right in the back of that Red Bull under that Honda badging on that rear wing there. As we head through the final sector now, again, important to keep close. You can see we haven't lost any time to Vettel. Vettel's got a little bit of a gap to that pack ahead of the two Mercedes and Norris. And I believe that is Charles Leclerc as well and Max Verstappen. So that group of 5 is starting to pull away. And yeah, we're sort of starting to form a battle for 6th at the moment as we head through the penultimate corner. Bit of a tank slapper there. Very lucky not to spin as Perez locks up and has a little bit of a wobbly rear end as we head on to the back straight, main straight, sorry, that is, as we now once again using our ERS to close in on the Mexican. We're once again going to be forced to the outside to try and go for a move, trying to hold position next to the Red Bull. We are still side by side. We're going to have the inside for turn 2 now, and that means we're going to be side by side as we head into the S's. One of us is going to have to give up eventually, and Perez is the one to give up there, and we get ourselves up into P7. Unfortunately, that cost us a bit of time to Vettel, and we are actually outside of DRS range should we not be able to close in the gap for that back straight. But already you can see that gap starting to close a little bit as we chase in on the German. And as we head on to lap number 5 now, you can see we are close enough to go for a move into turn 1. We're to the inside, and it's actually a lot more easy than it was on Perez getting it straight away, although actually Vettel trying to bank a bit of a cutback there, but he's not quite able to as we head into the S's once again, and that is us up into 6th. However, I don't think we're gonna quite have the pace to close in, and you can actually see here a bit further on lap 5, Vettel is able to absolutely blast past us there with the DRS down the back straight. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have to find ourselves in a bit of a battle here with Vettel. You can see heading through the last corner. This is still lap 5. So a lot happening here on this one lap of the race as we now head down the main straight towards turn 1 using everything we got. We got DRS, we got ERS, and we're once again going to go to the inside. No, Vettel weaving around on the track there. You can see he actually outbrakes himself. There's a little bit of contact there with Perez and then a little bit more contact with Vettel. So very messy turn 1 there. Sort of Vettel weaved around a little bit while we were trying to find a way through. That made us slow down a lot as Vettel overshot turn 1. Perez hit the rear of our car, and then we hit the rear of Vettel's car. So there could have been a much bigger accident, although I do actually think Perez has a bit of front wing damage. As you can see, we've pulled out over a second. That gap is still opening to the Red Bull behind us, so he very potentially damaged his car on our rear wing there. I don't believe we've got any damage because of that. It's just him. So that's unfortunate there for the Red Bull. As I was just saying before, he really needs to pick up his game, Sergio Perez, if he wants to stay in that Red Bull seat, because we do know how ruthless that team is. But you can see here, this is lap 6, so in 2 laps, we're going to be overtaking each other. This is a good 4 times now as we head down the back straight into the left-hander. We're still going to go side by side as we head into the final sector, going through the right-hander. We're still side by side at this point, leaving enough room there for the 4-time champion, and we do get the position. And actually, Vettel dives it back down the inside here into the left-hander. And once again, we are side by side, but we get the better run before we head into the sweeper. And finally, we're in P6. But look at that, a 4.5 second gap to Ricciardo, so I highly doubt we're going to be able to make that move. And if you have a look at the mini-map there down the bottom left, you can see Sergio Perez is actually right at the back left field now, only going into the sweeper now because he did have to pit to repair that front wing, which is a huge shame there. But it's going to be interesting to see where he can come back to in this race. This is his chance to prove that he can still, even with a poor race, get himself back into the points perhaps. So heading down the back straight.
They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
So an issue there for Max Verstappen. We get that team radio there from Jeff. So that could very potentially be in other positions, and also not what the Red Bull team wants to be hearing as we head through the sweeper. There's a car going slow. We're having a look at Schwartzman. He's in a P11 right now. And there's Lance Stroll, our rival, going slow. And that is going to be a DNF there from our rival. So I was saying hopefully we can make positions back. And yeah, we have managed to outlast him in this race at least, so we should be hopefully overtaking him in that rivalry. But that did put Schwartzman up into 10th. There's a few more cars pit. He's now into 7th, and hopefully the team is able to give him a good strategy. There have been a few good races this season where I felt like he's been able to get points, but the team has given him a poor strategy, so he could very potentially be into the points this race should the team get that right. But you can see we ran a bit wide into that hairpin here on lap 9, and that's allowed Vettel to get in front of us. As you can see, we're actually battling for P3 right now, as a few cars in front of us have pit. As we now head into the left-hander, we're going to go super deep on the brakes and try and make a move back on the German, but not quite. He covers us off there, and we're going to actually try and go around the outside here, as he didn't have the greatest run out of that left-hander. We're still going side by side. It's going to be our turn this time down the inside of the left-hander, and we do make the position, although we actually have a massive tank slapper there, and that allows Vettel back through, so we've given up the place, and we can't be affording to do that sort of stuff. We need to try and get away from this battle pack if we want to absolutely secure these points, because we are just wasting time, and the more time we waste, the more time the faster cars behind us have the chance to close up. As you can see, Vettel does pit here, so this is our chance now to just put in a completely unaffected lap by any other cars. And you can actually see, having a look at the leaderboard on the left there and the minimap down the bottom left, Schwartzman is the next car behind us after Bottas, and Bottas will absolutely be getting past us this lap. He made his pit stop already on those fresh mediums. He'll have a lot of pace, especially just considering he's in a Mercedes. I doubt we'll be able to hold him up for long. As you can see, we head to the end of lap 10. He did pass us on that back straight. And actually, here comes Robert Schwartzman in. This is a scheduled pit stop, I'd say, because normally the AI pits either a lap before or a lap after you. So we'll see if this is a good stop for Schwartzman, as he should be pulling into the pit box any second now. Yes, there he is into the lane. And actually, it's another pair of softs there for Schwartzman. So he's going to be doing a 2-stop, and I was saying that sometimes he gets the weirdest strategies, and that has been the case this time. He's on the softs. So he was in a position to possibly be going for points, and the team has decided to put him on an alternate strategy there. I don't know if maybe he had a bit of front wing damage or something, but that is not what we wanted to see there for Schwartzman. You can see, heading onto the end of the lap, our tyres are absolutely gone there, running a bit wide through the sweeper. And so it's now our turn to go for a pit stop as we get as close to that inside as we possibly can without getting a track cut warning. And hopefully we get a good pit stop. We've absolutely set the tyres to be on hards here, so we are going on a one-stop strategy so long as everything goes to plan here. And yeah, it's just such a shame that Schwartzman was just put on that silly strategy. We should be able to set the strategy for our teammate. I just don't understand why he'd go on that strategy. You can see he's in P13 there on the left-hand side, but he's of course going to have to make another pit stop. You can see everyone else is on hards other than Perez. You can see he's pulled a 5-second gap, but he did have to pit right at the start of the race to get some front wing change there due to that contact earlier on, so that makes sense for him. And he has done a good job there to close right in on Verstappen now, so I feel like he could have the pace to maybe even pull a whole pit stop on us, because of course I imagine later on in the race he'll be pitting onto a fresh set of mediums and he'll have a massive amount of pace over us on old hards by that point. So we are in P7 at the moment. we were able to stay ahead of Vettel on that lap and actually pull a bit of a gap. But now the car behind us here on lap 14 is actually Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. He's managed to make his way through on the Aston Martin in the last couple of laps, and you can see once again, that was the corner, funnily enough, I was struggling with the most out on this track, and unfortunately it's a corner that leads up to a massively long straight here, so Sainz is able to easily get through on us here before we even get into the corner. And we're going to have a look to the outside, very close to making contact there with the Spaniard. You can see just checking to make sure there wasn't any front wing damage, which there wasn't, but once again, just a bit flustered there and running very wide through that right-hander, and Sainz has pulled a bit of a gap on us now, so this is why it was important to try and get ahead of Vettel and pull a gap, which we weren't able to do, because faster cars like Sainz, for example, have now been able to get ahead and pull a gap, as you can see going on to lap 16 now. Here is Perez pitting in for those fresh set of mediums, like I was saying he's going to, and he's going to drop way down the field, so he's got a lot of time to make up if he wants to prove to his team that he is still worthy of that second Red Bull seat. As we head on the lap 17 now, you can see Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc actually made a pit stop, so they were on the 2-stop, and that seems to have actually worked for them, considering they were way up the field. I guess they were maybe able to just pull a massive gap on us at full speed, not caught up in too many battles with each other. So with those fresh sets of rubber, I imagine we absolutely will not be able to catch in and close on those guys. You can see Schwartzman now in for his second pit stop of the race, and actually Sergio Perez only 4 seconds behind us on those mediums, and he is coming, so we could very much be under threat from the Mexican. So after I sort of told him he needs to get his stuff together earlier on in this race, he has sort of pulled his finger out and is closing in on us by the second. He's now only 3.5 seconds, closing in on only 3 seconds behind us. So yeah, he's certainly got a lot of the pace on those mediums, as do the guys in front. You can see Sainz was right behind Ricciardo when Ricciardo came out, and now Ricciardo has pulled a massive gap on us, as Perez, out of nowhere here on lap 22, sends a massive dive on us and actually forces us off track. So Perez not waiting around here for the move. He's very possibly going to try and chase after Sainz here with 6 laps to go, although you can see it looks like those mediums are starting to get used up. He will have been using them a lot to overtake cars on his way through the pack. So with about 5 laps to go here, we could very potentially be looking at a battle with Perez as his tyres wear out more and more as the race goes on. You can see through the S section, not losing too much time in the dirty air due to how much slower he's having to go through those corners, and yeah, we are definitely within contention of making this move. You can see we've got about 2.5 seconds back to Vettel, so we don't have to worry about too much. If we do decide to have a little bit of a scrap with Perez, we should hopefully be able to stay ahead of the German as we head down the back straight. We are going to have DRS here, and we are going to close in a lot, I'd imagine, with the slipstream and ERS and the DRS as we head towards the hairpin at the end of the straight. We are closing in a lot, and we're going to try and send a dive bomb down here. I don't want to waste this opportunity, and Perez luckily does leave us room, but he's able to get back ahead of us. I was just a bit impatient. I didn't want to miss this opportunity to maybe make up the move on the Red Bull, because as you get towards the last couple laps of the race, that's when the AI sort of flicks a switch, and they just absolutely set blistering laps as we head on to the main straight here on lap 25, signaling 4 laps to go. We are once again a bit of deja vu from earlier in the race. You're going to go to the outside of Sergio Perez at turn 1 here, but we have actually held it a lot further up. A little bit of banging there of the wheel on his side pod, and he actually gives up a bit earlier, although we actually have a massive slide there through turn 2, so we do go side by side again into the S's, but he does once again pull out, and that is us back up into P7. And you can see Sainz is now 6 seconds ahead, so we have actually closed up a little bit, but I don't know if we're going to be able to close in over a second lap to close in on the Spaniard, as we now cut to lap 28, the final lap, and Perez is right behind us on the back straight. There's not a lot of this race to go, but we definitely have a battle on our hands here, as Perez is going to have a much better run down this straight with the DRS, ERS, and slipstream. You can see Lewis Hamilton wins the Grand Prix and takes the lead over Bottas in the championship, as Perez actually locks up on our inside there, and we are going to go side by side now as we head into the final sector of the lap. We're going to go next to each other through the right-hander, through the next sweeping right-hander here. Perez does keep it in there, and he's going to actually try and force us out once again as we head through this tight left-hander, and we are still going side by side as we head into the sweeper. Surely one of us gives out here as we go side by side, both of us having to sort of back out to make sure we leave each other enough room and stay on the track, and a bit of wheel banging as we head into the penultimate corner. We are still going side by side, we're a bit ahead, but he's going to have the inside for the final corner here. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but that Honda engine has a bit more oomph, and we're going to finish P8.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So here we are with the results for the US Grand Prix. You can see there we are, P8, less than half a tenth off of getting that position from Sergio Perez. A great battle there between the two of us for P7 and P8. He did a great job there to get back into the points, let alone up into P7 on the two-stop. You can see Lance Stroll DNFing and Schwartzman down in P16, which is a huge, huge shame there for our teammate, because I really feel that he had the pace to get into the points. You can see Russell as well, who was up there with Schwartzman, had the same sort of strategy, so maybe they had a bit of a coming together while they were racing each other and had to make that extra pit stop for some damage or something. I don't really know. It was a really strange call to be doing a two-stop there without an actual reason for it, but you can see, having a look at the driver standings, we stay in P8. I doubt we're going to be moving forward any more positions. I don't think we're going to be closing in that 26-point gap to Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari there, or the gap to the Red Bulls, McLarens, and Mercedes. But we're doing well to actually be sandwiching between those two Ferraris ahead of Carlos Sainz. Good 13 points there. He did close in a bit after finishing a couple of points, spots ahead of us in this race. You can see there's Schwartzman down in P19 still. And in terms of constructors, we are actually in the fight for 5th in the constructor standings here, which is absolutely insane. Only 3 points off of Aston Martin. We did close in 2 points after that race, finishing that position ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Could very well have proving very, very crucial to getting them by the end of the season. Hopefully we can keep this momentum forward. Well, I'd say we're pretty secure in P6. We've got a pretty big gap to the AlphaTauri and Alpine behind. We could just have another round like Singapore, though, where they get a massive, massive point scoring race and finish ahead of us. You can see in terms of rivalry breakdown, as I said, gaining a massive amount of points on Lance Stroll there, and we now take the lead in that rivalry by 3 points, which is a pretty good margin when it comes to these rivalries. In terms of acclaim, we do move up to level 10 there, and Schwartzman is still level 7 at the moment. In terms of team acclaim, halfway through level 14, another half level, and we'll have another sponsor on board. So it's what you love to see, making a lot of money. As you can see here, we've got another $500,000 there, and also not getting any damage, either myself or Schwartzman. So it wasn't a pit stop for damage for Schwartzman, that was just a strategy call. And yeah, it was definitely the wrong strategy call. I think that he should have finished higher than that, but 3.19 million in the bank. Very good for us at the moment. We are making a fair amount of money, and because of that, we're able to spend a fair amount of money. So hopefully into Season 2, we're able to make a lot of progress towards the front of the field. We're going to have a look at some activities now, though, and we are going to go for the Aero team building there to take up both of those available days to get that 10% morale boost in the aerodynamics department. In terms of the aerodynamics department, we're also going to spend $2.2 million on getting that level 1 upgrade on the fabrication and increasing the number of simultaneous upgrades we're able to do, because, yeah, as I've been saying a lot, we've been getting a lot of resource points, but we've not been able to spend them because we're only allowed to do so many upgrades at a time. So we're going to increase those amount of upgrades we can do and speed up the process of upgrading our car. As talking about upgrades, we're going to have a look at some now with almost 1,800 points, and there you go. As I was just saying, we have enough points to get that upgrade, but unfortunately, we already have other upgrades in the works, and we're not able to purchase that one, although we do now get that aero upgrade in, so now we can purchase that rear diffuser for some rear downforce that'll be for, which I think is very important, because we do seem to struggle a little bit with traction through some of the tighter corners. So now 1,300 points, and once again unable to get this upgrade, which we absolutely can afford. And yeah, we're now going to move forwards. Not much else to do in terms of admin, and there we go. Next race to check off the list is the Mexican Grand Prix, and yeah, kind of looking forward to that. I feel I can do pretty well around that track. So yeah, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy, guys, to see more content like this. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.